very distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, talk say in they challenge the legitimacy of human rights radio and television. He never to take, just a few days after, him and Natasha can't get this issue where Natasha misbehaved into follow her misbehave. You understand? He never to take. Now we read one letter where the tone no they friendly. For people where una they invite, now we write petition on behalf of Bywater staff to the National Assembly. We will write letter on behalf of those people because we believe in the we believe in the authority and the integrity of the National Assembly. We carry and come. If una won't write us later, una no go use that kind of tone. That tone not.
Guys, have you noticed that in this Natasha case versus Akpabio, most of our Nigeria political elite, right? About 80% of them seems to be siding Akpabio. Did you know why? This is not just because of the sexual whatever. This is simply because there was a time Senator Natasha revealed something, the corruption of that involved most of this political elite. By so doing, she stepped on their toes. How these guys have been, doing some kind of illegal extortion that affect the common Nigerians on the street. Do you understand this? So this thing I'm saying now, she stepped on their toes, and many of them they've been upset with her. Guys, the video I about watch here is too loaded. She revealed some other figuring evidences against Akpabio. Please, as you watch this video, I beg you, watch it to the end. It is highly informative. The world need to hear this. But before you do this, do me a favor by giving this a thumbs up so that Facebook and YouTube can recommend it. And as a patriotic Nigerian, please, you just have to share this video. Let it spread around. Thanks and God bless you.
Walked me out of the place. And I was in the car for a while. I called on the DSS, the director of DSS in Kogi State. And I told him what happened. He said he already knew. And that he was surprised why and disappointed why none of the security agencies could stop the talks. I even saw, let me tell you this, I even saw one of them wielding, he was trying to pull out a knife. He raised his shirt and put his hand in. I saw the shiny part of the blade right there in the middle of the police, the security agencies. I did not see the army. I know the army uniform. I didn't see no, the army wasn't there. So I called the commissioner of police and I told him, sir, I was just attacked right outside the venue while you were in there. He said he's not aware of anything. Right, he just feigned ignorance. And I kept on telling him, I said he couldn't hear me and he cut off the line. That was the commissioner of police right there. So I still sat in the car, and then I got to know that one of my drivers was attacked as well, because I went in my convoy, and right now he sustained injuries in the head. So they've taken him to the hospital, and one of my campaign vehicles was later vandalized because the thugs, when they chased me out, when they booed me, they walked towards, and when they saw my vehicle, they attacked my vehicle. And then I'm also aware now that the SDP chairman of Kogi State too was beaten up. I don't know, but I was told that he was beaten up because he stood up at the venue and objected to the fact that the meeting was continuing, that if the meeting was one which was against violence and for the promotion of peace, then what happened out there to his own candidate was against the conduct of the meeting. And when he spoke, the next thing he stepped out of the hall, and these same thugs lynched him right in front of the police, and nobody did anything. So this brings a lot of worry, and it raises the question again of security in Kogi State, and how prepared are we for the elections that is just a few.
But we cannot complete the 2% because we need the infrastructure set up. Because once the 2%, which is largely the blast furnace, once it's ignited, the blast furnace is to run for 18-25 years non-stop. That means Many people say, why, if the Russians really wanted Ajakuta to work, why did they leave at 2%, at 98%? It's because if they had started, would have had a wholesome damage. And for these 3 years, which was more than enough to have the infrastructure running, the roads, dredging. At that time, they even proposed the dredging of River Niger. But not one letter was responded to, and they had to leave. It was a sad experience, they had to leave. It was more sad because, like I said, people like me, many Russians that came to Nigeria and got married to Nigerians, they were separated. My mother till today does not even have a Nigerian passport, even though my father wasn't working, but the rules were not so fair to many people. So when they left, I will read now. In October, when the Russians left, and we had such huge debt to pay, they did not take Nigeria to court. They kept on sending letters of reminder. How are you going to pay this? But most importantly, they reminded Nigeria, if you are interested in continuing the completion of your plans, let us know. We will come back. All we have to is renegotiate. But what happened was, in October 1995, I'm going to read from this part because there are some key words I don't want to miss. A series of debt buyback transactions took place whereby the debt instruments were sold at inflated prices to Liberian companies, purportedly owned by the Abachas. The two companies are called Parna Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities. These are two companies that were registered in Liberia, and these are the two companies that bought the debts. Now, on one part, Parna Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities, on one part, they were negotiating the reduction of that near $1 billion debt. And Russia waved away over 400 million and said, you know what? We're a struggling country, a small country, just pay $500 million. Forget about the rest. While on the other hand, the Abacha administration told Nigeria that the Russians insisted on the money, on the nearly 1 billion, and apart from that, there were debts incurred upon the debt buyback. So that amounted to 2.5 billion. So that means 2.5 billions were taken from our reserve, while only 500 billion was being paid. So that is the debt buyback. 2014. The Egyptian government embarked upon a huge project to dualize the Suez Canal. And that Suez Canal, the President Sisi sold the idea so patriotically to the people that $8 billion was raised in 10 days. Mr. Speaker, these are facts. $8 billion was raised in 10 days from a country that has a population of just 91 million. They don't have individuals as rich as Nigeria. But what matters is leadership and the ability to connect to the people so that an average person on the street, the person roasting corn, the organizer, everybody will believe in this national dream. And a crime against Ajakuta is a crime against Nigeria. And there is no court. Supposing this $525 million was actually an order of the greatest court on earth. Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and we decide to allow criminals or not to allow criminals into our land, whether they are nationals, Nigerians, or foreign. So, sir, it's actually Nigeria's duty to ensure that people who have committed crimes on this land are not holding our most precious assets. Also, we would say that Ajakuta and Itakpe must not be privatized or concession, but be owned 100% by the federal government of Nigeria and operated alongside the original builders only in areas of technical expertise. And once there is an absolute transfer of technology, the Russians can go. We believe we have seen Nigerians around the world conducting amazing things in engineering, so there's no reason why they shouldn't. We would also like to appeal that this Honorable House asked to get the executive to assemble a team of economic experts to travel to Russia, which I'm speaking with regards to the bilateral agreement, which is still standing open. Because we believe that once a country or two countries come together and agree on a particular reasoning, then that is binding on the nations. It's upon meeting with President Putin that Nigeria can then begin to decide the way forward. And I also agree with the previous speakers that there has to be a redesign of the steel sector. Why a redesign? Because when I visited Russia 2 years ago and I spoke with the original builders, they told me that the plan upon which the Nigeria steel industry is built, it was designed in 1971 by the geological survey conducted by these same original builders. And they said by now, the advancement of technologies and innovation in the sector has caused the realization and usage of new materials which were ordinarily not known to them then. They also told me that we might be oblivious of the fact that Rolls-Royce today, the great Rolls-Royce, uses important alloys sourced from Kogi State, probably supplied by illegal miners. But that is why I say it is very important that we call them back to conduct another survey, because probably in the modernization and upgrade of the plant, there could be new sectors that are injected so that new minerals can be incorporated. Thank you. And I would say again that I know many will talk about why am I promoting Russia? Why am I not promoting China and India? With due respect to every country's steel capabilities, the greatest steel plant in China today and 5 of the biggest steel plants in India, citing Belial, which for the 12th consecutive year has won the best steel plant in Asia, was built by this same company. So why? There's a very big question. What has Russia done, and why are we shying away from approaching the people who actually envisage this dream for completion? Nigeria must be ready for sanctions. That's one thing I'm going to say. It's not easy to go against the Western Bloc. We must be ready for sanctions because at the end of the day, we must dream of a big, great Nigeria. Because for all it's worth, trade is always better than aid. Trade is always better than aid. Nigeria should position itself to be a country that will give other African countries aid. We should be the country that Ghana, Kenya, Somalia, Uganda, they run to for loans. Not all.
Is a very terrible example of a Senate president. In fact, if you ask me to rate Senate president, so far he's the worst. In fact, he behaves so unintelligently that you wonder if he's actually the kind of lawyer. So Natasha is very correct. Her constitutional right has been breached. She has been degraded in a manner that will make a lot of citizens, especially our constituents, to downgrade her rating. And as what she has my own support in my view to actually sue Akpabio, and I hope that she gets justice. That's what she
Jake, Natasha, and she no give up. She still dey move. She still dey move. How can Kogi governor say a ban? Can you ban convoy? Is it in our law to ban convoy where they go or gathering? When you now put kangaroo 250,000 fake people that are not up to 5,000, you can't them reach 250 to sign for a recall. You didn't ban public outing or public gathering there. Now when she can't do her own, they go to show them the authentic voters. You now say you now ban public gathering. Why you now no ban kidnappers with full Kogi State? Why you now no ban crime with full Kogi State? And that one too, the red cap chief. They say I be red cap chief. You are now suddenly special assistant to SP. on sexual harassment. Natasha, you are the woman. You are the woman they talk about in the Bible. You are the woman they talk about. Those people that stand. You are the Queen Amina of our time. You are the Olufunmilayo Ransom Kuti of our time. I can't believe you can hold so many men to ransom. Natasha, when they think you are tired, they move like elephants. They move ba. They move bo. Your movement, they shakara them. Then they enact law we know the inside constitution. Natasha, I am behind you. God is behind you. All the women of the world, the Yemoda, the Osun, the Iyawo Olokun, all of them are with you. How can so many of you couldn't pin one woman down? That is to tell you we need to bring our women back for our country to grow. It is time to bring the women back, okay?
Natasha's representative, but I'm going to speak as a woman that works or has ever worked in a male-dominated space. And I think one thing that the senator said that we must all, or every woman that has listened to that interview, felt to be true deep down in her bones, is that it's just like a case of a university lecturer failing you simply because you refuse to sleep with him. When women talk about cases of sexual harassment, they always say, keep quiet, don't speak about it. No, it's because of what you're wearing. It's because of you invited it. There's an invitation to treat. Simply by existing, we make women feel like they are inviting people to come and sexually harass them. And this is the culture in which Nigerian women have always existed. Have people found ways to exist in spite of this culture? Yes. But are we saying that it is all right, it is right? Absolutely not. So when people are speaking up against it, at whatever time we decide to speak up against it, I think it's only important, it's only fair that we listen to them.
Yeah, but then,
so let me speak about the
sit.
Let me speak about the sit. I'm so sorry. Okay. Let me speak about the sit. Rosa Parks, the person that we celebrate today in America, looked at the history of, subjugation of black people, and she refused to get up from her sit. I'm not trying to equate Natasha with Rosa Parks, but was saying that because she graciously came to give an interview here. And to give you context as to why she felt the way that she was being subjugated, because there was a history between her and the Senate president. And she alleges that the Senate president said, if you take care of me, you would have a smooth ride. She alleges that if you take care of me, you would have a smooth ride. Yes, she alleges, but it's not only her voice that we've heard about an allegation, about the Senate president sexually harassing a woman.
That doesn't still mean that she was right.
Miss Joy Nunez, 2020 NDDC, in 2020, also accused the Senate president of, sexually harassing her. So you look at, and she said she even slapped him. So you look at all of these instances, and you wonder how he became a Senate president in the first place.
Despite being referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions for Disciplinary Review, Senator Natasha Akpabio has filed a lawsuit against the President of the Senate, Senator Akpabio, for alleged defamation. Akpoti Udwanga raised concerns after a seat was being reassigned following a shuffle triggered by opposition members switching to the majority wing. She resisted relocation, leading to a confrontation and her and the Senate president. In the suit filed before the Federal Capital Territory High Court on 25th of February, the Senate President of Federal Republican Legislative aides to the Senate President, Ufon Patrick, were listed as second and third defendants. Meanwhile, Citizens Network for Peace and Development and Civil Society Organization CSO has asked Natasha Akpoti, Senator representing Kogi, to redirect her energy to legislative duties. In a statement, Francis Wanner, the Executive Director of CSO, asked the lawmaker to refrain from activities as perceived as distraction to the Senate. Wanner said the Kogi senator should be fighting for poor Nigerians rather than fighting over seat allocation in the chamber. So joining us now on the show is Senator Natasha Akpoti, this day award Senator of the Year, member representing Kogi Central of the National Assembly. Let's go to it because there's a lot to talk about, Natasha, and there's a one for time. There's been some allegations, of corruption against you by some northern, youth association. Can you address those allegations? That's number one. Number two, can you tell us how seats are being arranged, in the Senate, and what transpired, your take on that? That's number two. And really, I'd like to know, you and Akpabio today, you and Akpabio another time, what is really the matter between you and Akpabio? Because I hear that both families are friends. So I'd like to really know what is going on. Why always you and Senate President Akpabio? Those three questions.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Professor Killer. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And also thank you for awarding me as the Senator of the Year. It's quite unfortunate that after such a long break from me being in studio, this scenario had to bring me in here. And going straight to your first question, which is the allegations, the petition against me on by a certain northern group, which has to do with the conduct of my office as the chair of the local content committee. I would first say that the allegations are baseless, but in as they are hampering on my integrity, I am glad to throw some light on it. The first allegation there was on the misappropriation of the funds in the account and withholding the imprest, as it said. I would like to say this, that when I resumed as chair, I have the bank statement here. It's the Sterling, it's an account under the name Senate Committee on Local Content, and the account is with Sterling Bank, and the account number is 00662082009. And when I resumed as chair of the committee, the account balance was zero. And then gradually, at the time I handed over to the next chairman, the account had 13,649,335 naira and 4 kobo. And I will say this, the first month after my resumption, the clerk of the committee, whose name is well listed there, probably the lady who is behind this petition, Mrs. Edith Aja, she approached me in January and said, oh, the first month's payment has gotten in. And I was like, what do you mean by that? She told me that every month, every committee in the National Assembly receives 950,000 naira as running or operational costs. And so that I said, okay, what is the money supposed to be used for? She said, it's for logistics, mail dispatches, whenever refreshments for meetings that we have, and all that. I said, okay, so if 950,000 naira has hit the account, we are yet to call for any meeting, so I think leave that money there, or is there a problem? She said, yes, the trend or the norm is that if there is no event or happenstance that utilizes the money, we are supposed to share the money. I said, how do you mean? She said, the money is usually shared. I, as a chairperson, I'll take a part of it. I'll give some to my deputy, and the rest of the money will be shared amongst the staff of the local content committee. And I was like, did you say that is what happens? She said, yes, that is what my predecessor did, and that is what happens in all the committees in the National Assembly. I said, well, you know what? That money, if it's meant to service the operations of the committee, it's not meant to enrich my pockets. It's not meant to enrich the pockets of the staff. I would not want to collect this so-called imprest. So I would advise that you keep that money in the account, and we build the money, we use it for whatever it's needed. If we have to buy office equipment, print stationaries, then we use that money. And I promise this, and the bank statement is here. Anyone who has access to it, I have called the account number. You can check. We have gradually built the account. We use there was a time I approved the money last year for the purchase of a printer, because it made no sense that we kept on spending so much money printing outside. I was like, you know what, let us have a printer in-house. We bought a printer. We also have printed lots of materials, but basically the money, I never took a kobo out of that in the name of Impress. I never gave my deputy then, who is Senator Ede Dafinone, any Impress. He can verify and attest to that. Neither did I allow any of the staff to take any money, because that is taxpayers' money, and the money was meant to service the office. Now, the second allegation there is that, oh, but by the way, it would impress you to know that ever since I left office, the money has been withdrawn by the clerk. About 5 million was withdrawn. And 2 days after my removal again, 4.9 million was withdrawn. So as at today, the bank, that account that had 13 million has only 123,000. Now, the second allegation there is that I harassed the clerk, and I called for the CVs of the staff. Now, this is it. I believe in I believe that the committee was set to oversee the operations of all the IOCs and the national industry players, and to also strengthen in-country capacity with regards to the oil and gas sector. So such a committee needs the services of lawyers and auditors, because we have to look at a whole lot of accounts and how monies are being spent, monies that are due to strengthen the educational and training sectors, how they are being spent. So one thing again the clerk told me was that we needed to deploy the services of an external consultant. And I told her, I was like, why do we have to deploy the services of an external consultant when we have in-house staff? The Committee on Local Content had about 10 or 11 staff at the time. And I was like, we should be able to do this job ourselves. I am a lawyer. I can do my own part wherever one needs to refer to the Constitution or to the Act as it may. And I believe we should have supporting lawyers, we should have auditors, we should have accountants amongst the staff. So I asked her for the CVs so that I could look, and then amongst them I can write to the clerk of the Senate and say, you know what, can you swap this person, because I want to have an effective team to operate. So if that is what they say, harassment, then so be it. And as for the rest, they mentioned I harassed NLNG. Excuse me, please.
Natasha,
I harassed NLNG.
Natasha, for the
these companies will write and act and defend.
For the want of time, the second question I asked is, then what transpired on the Senate floor?
Second question,
and why is there always a tiff between you and the Senate President? So those are the two. You can put both together.
Of course.
Why is there always a fight between you and the Senate President?
Of course. That was on the sitting arrangements. I think it was last Thursday. I walked to the chambers early before sitting. I signed my book. Please, can I have some water, please? Where is it? Oh.
Okay, we'll just wait to...
I flew all night, so I'm kind of drained. Okay, so...
Yes, you were saying, yeah.
The sitting arrangements. I walked into the chambers that morning. I signed my attendance sheet, and I was walking straight to my usual seat, which is the last seat by the door, like at the topmost last seat by the aisle. So, and then I was told by one of the sergeant at arms that, oh, ma'am, that is no longer your seat. You are now sitting at the far end there. And I was like, since when? They said, well, that's what the Senate President instructed. Like, I was in chambers yesterday, it was Wednesday. I've not been notified. Why did you change my seat? What reason? I'm comfortable here. I'm okay here. I wasn't notified to that. So I was upset. And then I said I refused to move to the new seat. I don't even know what the new seat is. I don't even know the number. I don't know. But they told me it was the last seat, appointed the last seat on the far end. So then the procession came. The president walked in the seat, and then the rest was shown online. I was already told, by the way, that I should gently move. Some senators messaged me that I should please adhere to the change and move to my seat, because that was a trap, a setup. And I was like, I was trying to understand what trap, what setup. At that point, the minority leader, Senator Abamoro, walked up to me and he told me, Natasha, please just obey, just go to that seat. I'm like, no, sir, you are my leader. You should speak for me. I am not aware that my seat has been changed. And I believe I should be given a chance. Maybe they should explain to me why my seat was changed. Maybe I can also explain why, if they could maybe consider leaving me here. that I'm not moving. He said he pleaded with me that I should please move to the other seat and not explain that we could address it later. And I said, sir, I have hit these chambers, I have complained, and you have witnessed several of my privileges, me being maligned several times, and you never stood up for me. So no, I am not moving there because I do not trust that if I move, this matter will be addressed. So I am going to raise it on the floor. That was what I told my leader, who is the leader of the minority, Senator Abamoro. And then he walked. So after that, I was about to be, then the minority whip now read the rules that I have broken the Senate rule by not adhering to my seat change
allocation.
And that was when, at the time the Senate President was about to read my seat allocation. At the time the Senate President was about to read, because the next thing he was going to do was to read my suspension because I failed to adhere to that. But he had already made some statements that, Senator, the whip was, hold on. The whip,
yes, it's just that we have to manage.
Had mentioned
Senator
that
Natasha, yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry, but we have to manage our time, and part of the question.
Okay, so you might. So at that point, I knew I had to read Order 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to read Order 10. Now, what is Order 10? Many people don't understand. So now, Order 10 is is an SOS for every senator who feels their rights and privileges have been abridged. So and permit me to quickly read what's Order 10 here is. Any senator may rise at any time to speak upon a matter of privilege suddenly arising, and he shall be prepared to move without notice a motion declaring that the contempt or breach of privilege had been committed. Now here it is. It does not say I cannot read that order in that place. Whenever a senator feels that their rights have been trifled upon, I have the right, even if I'm laying on the floor, wherever a senator is in that place. This order book does not say Order 10 should be read from a particular seat.
Okay, Senator Natasha, let me come in here.
I have no right to speak from that seat, that I should speak from my new seat.
Yes.
The Senate President aired, hold on please, this is a very important point.
Okay.
The Senate President himself made a mistake by not allowing me to speak on that Order 10, because it says here, and let me mention number 11. When a matter of privilege,
Senator Natasha, I'm going to have to come in here. Senator Natasha, I am going to have to come in here. Thank you so much.
Yes, please.
You'll have more time to explain, but we have such limited time, and we want to get as much out of this interview as possible. Well, thank you for expressing and opening up your statement. So what I assume from what you've said now, because that was the question I was going to ask you, was the Senate Standing Orders, Chapter 362. A senator may only speak from the seat allocated to him, provided that the President of the Senate may change the allocation from time to time. So what you're saying is that Order 10 trumps Order 6.2 in terms of your ability to speak. But you can respond to that after I ask this question. Based on that, you made allegations last week Thursday in the chamber saying that you've been maligned. In fact, you said to the Senate President on the floor, in the chambers, that you are not afraid of him. Can you share or expatiate on what you mean by that? And when you had a follow-up interview, you were talking about how some of your privileges were deliberately taken away from you. What was the motive behind this? And then finally, is this exclusive to you alone? Or is it just because, there are many things that have come up because you're a woman, there are only 4 women in the House, you and the Senate President have personal altercations that have now appeared in the chambers. Is this the privileges being withdrawn from you exclusive to you alone, and why do you think that is?
Now, thank you. Indeed, the Senate President has the right to allocate seats to every senator, and the senator should speak from that allocated seat. But here it is. I was not about to make a debate. Neither was I about to contribute to a motion. I was reading an SOS, which is a lifeline of any senator. For any senator to have invoked Order 10, that means his privileges were already, or her privileges were already infringed upon and denied. And that can be raised anywhere at any time. So once a senator shouts Order 10, believe me, even if I'm being dragged on the floor and I say Order 10, they are supposed to listen to me. Wherever I sit in that place, that's why he said any senator may rise at any time to speak upon a matter of privilege suddenly arising, and I should be prepared to move same. So in this part, the Senate President, once I raised Order 10, he ought to have allowed me to speak. And then he could have maybe taken his own discretion to overrule it or move that complaint to the Ethics and Privileges Committee. But the Senate President failed to do that. Instead, he ordered that the Sergeant at Arms should move me out of the chambers and prepare for my suspension.
Okay, next question.
Now, you're talking about my outburst. Yes, I
please.
did mention. I did mention that my rights in the Senate there, I have been dehumanized, I have been maligned and all what. And that outburst, I believe that that's what the seat change was just the straw that broke the camel's back. A lot has been going on. And you asked, I'm just going again, trying to mix up the question.
Yes, that's fine.
Mix with this
so I asked you, you made a statement that you've been maligned, you are not afraid of the Senate President, and that I asked if this was exclusive to you alone or if this is a particular trend.
Yeah, that outburst, that's what I'm about to explain that.
Yes.
Yes, so many people do not know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to speak my own truth. And the Senate President is allowed to counter that. It all started on the 8th of December, 2023, which was a day before his birthday,